Sorry, my dog has so many fluffy toys, but she's chosen to play with, which is the loudest thing on earth.
Hello everyone, I'm Salim Barahme, Director of PIPD. I want to welcome you to another episode of Dardashe, a series where we talk at length with amazing and inspiring Palestinians about their lives and the work that they do. Today, we're joined by Joudie Kalla, chef and author of best-selling books, Palestine on a Plate and Baladi. Joudie, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you holding up in these surreal times?
Oh, do you really want to know? Or I'll tell you what you want to hear. I'm okay now. Listen, it's been a long time. I've been isolating for much longer than most people. So I think what's happened is I've just adapted to everything. And, slowly, day by day, it's just becoming, I guess, normal. I don't want to say new normal because I hope this is not going to be forever.
Joudie, what will you be cooking for us today?
So today I'm making you one of my all-time childhood favorite things. It's a dessert. It's called maftool بالسكر. Most people probably know sharia بالسكر, which is a vermicelli that's toasted in butter and then sprinkled with sugar, and it's delicious. But this is my favorite because the maftool is a bit thicker. It's a bit gloopier. It's almost like risotto, sweet. Oh, wow. And I put orange blossom in it and butter, sugar, water. It's a very, very simple knafe kazab. It's like a very cheats knafe minus all the hard work. And then we use some rose petals on top and slivered pistachios, and it takes about 15 minutes from start to finish. You just have to obviously cook the maftool until it's ready. I'm using moghrabiya today, which is slightly bigger than maftool because I didn't have any, but they're basically the same thing, just different.
Amazing. And where did you fall in love with this recipe and this dish?
My mom. Listen, we were so many kids running around and everyone wanted something sweet at a certain time. So she'd make a big batch of this, or the sharia, and she'd just put it on the table and we'd be just scooping it up. And it was so delicious because it's a bit sticky and buttery and sugary. And then we'd have a little manic rush and get out of her way. I think that was the main point, was to get us away from her.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
Do you want to
find in your home, and you can use pasta if you don't have maftool or sharia. Wow. It's really all the same base ingredients, just don't add salt.
Wow, okay, I never knew that. Do you want to take us through the recipe?
Yeah, so you're just gonna you can use a pot. I like to use a shallow pan like this. We're gonna just put some maftool dry into the pan. And then literally you're going to be so shocked how easy and quick this is. I'm going to put like a quarter cup of sugar. And then I'm going to add some water. While this is all going to just combine together, I'm going to add a knob of butter at this point and then leave the other bit. So we've got some butter here and rose petals. I don't think if you can see that. I'm going to add half now and then the other half at the end, so that will like emulsify and make it thick and sticky. And now we let this simmer for about 12 to 15 minutes. So remember, it is like pasta, so it's going to have to go past the al dente stage to get really nice and delicious. And once you get to that point, this is where we put the orange blossom. This is the brand I use. It's delicious. We put a dash of this and then mix it, serve it, put some rose petals, pistachios, done. Easy.
Amazing. Joudie, where can people find some of the, like maftool? Where can someone in the UK or in the US or in Europe find some of these ingredients?
Wow, there's so many places here. Honestly, I think Middle Eastern food initially about 10 years ago was sort of like a phase. People were just experimenting. And now it's become a lifestyle for people because it's so healthy, just varied. I go to places on North End Road, which is very, very popular for Middle Eastern, Asian shops. You have amazing halal butchers and they have everything. And you buy bunches of parsley like this much for £1, and instead of getting a tiny sprig in the supermarket. Also spices in packets that I don't understand why people would go to a big super chain. You get half of the stuff. So you can find everything there, and they have different things from different parts of the country, different countries. So the choice is really yours.
I think people are sometimes intimidated by foods that they don't know and feel like they're extremely complex to make, but you're showing us that it's extremely easy and it's very available.
It's really easy. I think the main thing I realized, exactly what you said, that most people are scared of cooking because when they see a dish ready, in their mind they start imagining how many hours it took, how many people it took to put it together, and also because sometimes it looks so beautiful, you just think like you don't have the imagination or creativity to make it that way. But it's really, really simple if you just put your mind and some time into it. And I've been doing really short videos. I didn't really think I could do big recipes in under 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm just like, add this, chop this, mix this, stir this, pour water, leave for 15 minutes, come, mix, and then it's done. Because people want to know that things are accessible, easy, quick, healthy, good, and taste great. So I was hoping to do that in my books, and alhamdulillah, most people told me that they've achieved recipes they never thought they would try. And that's basically the whole point of it, is to make that misconception of our grandmothers sitting for 3 days doing sfiha, but they made 3,000 of them, they didn't. So that was the illusion that it took so long, but no.
During this quarantine was the first time I had the courage enough to make wara anab myself.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, and it was I just needed that courage and realize it's not actually that complex. It just takes a bit of time and it can be done.
Also, didn't you find that just doing the repetitive rolling movement was so calming for you?
So therapeutic. It's
I love it. When I have to core kusa, mahshi, or betinjan, or anything that requires repetitiveness, and also the sfiha yafawiyya, I love making it.
Yeah.
Because it's rolling, stretching, folding, rolling, folding, stretching, roll. And by the time I'm finished, I've become in a trance and my anxieties drops, I feel happier, and then I know I'm going to eat.
How do you feel about things like beetroot hummus or can it be called hummus? Is it just a dip, or?
I'm going to add some butter while I think about this. This is nearly finished, so let's just, I think you cannot call it hummus. I think you call it beetroot and chickpea dip. I think you have to change the name. Hummus is hummus.
Hummus is hummus.
For me, hummus is either just chickpeas or hummus, the dip that we eat. Once you start adding things to it, like mtabbal, I can understand beetroot mtabbal. Mtabbal is mtabbal, like you're mixing things together. So this is a different dish. But chickpea hummus, chocolate hummus, avocado hummus, no. Hummus is hummus, and then it's just another dip with chickpeas.
Yeah, I remember seeing that for the first time. I grew up in Palestine, and I went to the US, and I went to a supermarket and I saw all these different flavors of hummus. Yeah. I was shocked and offended at the same time.
Listen, I think it's great to be creative. I'm just going to add some orange blossom. I'm just going to show you. I don't know if you can see this. It's become like thick.
Yeah, like a risotto, as you said. Yeah,
exactly. And the water has evaporated slightly. It's become thicker. The balls have become, slightly enlarged here, which is what you want to see. You don't want, if they're still the same size by the time you finish, they haven't absorbed enough liquid. And now is when you want to add a tiny bit more sugar, and a dash of orange blossom. We add this at the end because if you put it too soon, it evaporates, like the flavor disappears. And this actually, not just a knafe, it tastes like halawat al-jibn, you know, that
Yes.
smell of the
Yes.
zibda with the cheese and the, yeah. So this is basically what I'm talking about right now. But yeah, I think hummus, let's just leave it alone and then we can call, because I have in my book beetroot mtabbal. No, I don't have, do I have beetroot mtabbal? Yes, I do have mtabbal with beetroot and I have a courgette mtabbal.
Sure.
But those are, that's what mtabbal means.
Yeah.
Mix stuff
Takbil,
together.
it is. It's in the name.
Yeah, hummus. I think we got to leave some classics to themselves.
We do. We do. That's true. That's true.
Also, please, if you're going to use flowers from your garden, make sure there's no pesticides on them. Rinse them, clean them. These are dried tea rosebuds, so they're made for food consumption. So please, please, please be smart.
It looks good.
I'm gonna,
Wow.
yeah. See how quick that was? I don't even know how long we were talking for.
Yeah.
That's basically done.
I think this is, for a lot of people watching, it's a perfect dessert, and also especially in Ramadan, you know, something to make for a lot of people around the world who are fasting.
Oh my God, this at 3 in the morning when you're just to get your day started. Yeah, definitely. It's honest. I can't explain to you what, just this, for me, smell is my first thing. Before, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I eat with my eyes first. Absolutely, for me, it's the opposite. When I smell something or I smell my mom, I think of certain foods, and that's what pushes me to make something, and then into the design of things. But
amazing. Yeah. No, it looks fantastic, and I'm sure it tastes fantastic, and I hope a lot of people eat it for suhoor.
Yes, easy. There's literally no measurements. You just have to make sure the maftool is boiled, and then the water is evaporated. Add sugar as much as you want, whatever you want. Honey, if you don't want sugar. The smell of the rose is so nice.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So we now move to Joudie's living room, where we're going to have some dessert and chat about kind of Joudie's life and career. Joudie, I'm very curious. I never asked you, how did you become a chef?
Well, I really always loved cooking, and I used to be with my mom all the time in the kitchen with her when we were young. We were 5 kids, and I was the youngest of the 4 girls, and became slightly attached to her when my brother was born. So she'd keep me in there for a while, and this is sort of where I started to learn how it would make me so relaxed and less anxious, even at a very young age. And then I didn't really know that you could be a chef. I didn't know the word, or, you know, that could be a job, even though we used to go to restaurants with my families, but I never thought about the background of it, always just in where we were sitting. And then, like I mentioned earlier, many, many, many years ago, Nigella Lawson came on TV with her first show, and I was besotted. I was just watching her thinking, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to be a cook. I want to be a chef. And again, not on TV, but just as my job. And it took a lot of years to convince my dad. So we had a deal that I would finish my A-levels, and then he said I could do it. Then I had to do my university degree, which I did. And then he added another thing on top, do a master's. I did. And then I went khalas. Like,
can I ask, what was the kind of the pushback on you becoming a chef?
He just didn't think that it was a real job. He wanted me to have like a secure job, I think mainly in banking or being a doctor or something. My dad actually made me study law, and I just didn't get it. I mean, I got it, but it wasn't me. I'm a very creative, artistic person. So doing that was a waste of time for me, because I was never, even when I was studying, I was thinking, I'm never going to use this ever in my life. And then eventually he said, okay, try. He thought I would do like 6 months and then come back and say, I hate it, it's too long, the hours and what have you. But I really needed to be in like a military style job, you know?
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. You wake up at the crack of dawn, you're the first person in there at 6 in the morning, and you work all the way through till 3, then you sit for 2 hours, and then you start again. So, and we'd finish at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and come back, sleep for 3 hours. I'd drink a cup of mlukhia every night because it would make me so sleepy. And then,
I've never heard of that before.
it was my favorite thing. You know, the pharaohs in Egypt used to drink it and eat it to make them feel like they were stoned. And that was basically why it's called mulukhiyya. It's from the muluk of Egypt. And it would put them in this sort of like trance of feeling. I don't know about you. When you eat mulukhiyya, do you feel like you're just so sedated?
A bit, yeah.
So I use that. Sorry, my dog has so many fluffy toys, but she's chosen to play with, which is the loudest thing on earth. But yeah, so this is what it happened, and I loved it. And he couldn't understand for the longest time why I had not given up and why I wanted to work 18 hours every day. I loved it. It was my. I don't even have a word to describe it. It was just everything I thought it would be and better. I have two and they're fighting.
Oh, okay.
This is Kalabiza. She's the naughtiest of all dogs.
So do you feel like the understanding of the profession of being a chef culturally and universally has changed, not just within Palestinian society or something, but more universally?
I think it's changed in the sense that more women are part of it now. Before, I remember right up until I had my restaurant in 2010, when I first opened, I'd never worked with another woman in the kitchen before. I was the only girl with 15 guys or 3 guys, depending on what size of kitchen I was working in. And it was always me. And I think that's changed a lot. Now, if you go online, if you see on Instagram, such an amazing platform. There are so many women who are, later in their life or just started out, who are blogging, and then they're turning into chefs and then turning into cooks, or whatever the word you want to call it. Chef, cook, it's all the same thing. It's just a title because that's my job. But and this is how I wanted to be presented when we published the books. I didn't want to come out as a chef because I feel it's much more intimidating for people.
Yeah.
Because again, like I said, everyone has to start somewhere. And, I started not knowing how to do anything. And then I learned and practiced. And now I can whip up things in 15 minutes as opposed to an hour because I know from my eye and so on. But I think culturally things are changing. And I think it's a great change.
Yeah, for sure.
And like a very fine dining, which lasted for a very, very long time until this Middle Eastern boom came out really around 2008, and it's still going strong. Of the sharing platters, things that are much more easy to eat, and having bigger groups of people rather than one plate, and it's tiny. It's such an expensive portion, and you feel hungry, and then you go and get a kebab later. So kind of bigger portions, nicer, homey type of cooking, I think is what's changed a lot about the food and chef industry and cooking. And more people are one guy, he's just published a book now, English guy, and I messaged him because I ordered his book. And then he said to me, oh my God, Joudie, I've also added some Palestinian recipes in my cookbook. Wahed Inglisi, like white English guy living in the country. And I was just like, wow, Palestinian food has hit the countryside in the UK. And
that's pretty cool.
I was like, yeah,
really cool. Joudie, I can't tell you where I've been in some of the most random places around the world, and I see za'atar on the menu. I see tahini on the menu, and it's something that brings me a lot of joy and pride.
Yeah, and in most places, yes, it makes me really happy, but in some places it makes me very cross.
Of course. I think when it's cultural appropriation presented as Israeli, I think it can drive you a bit mad.
I think this whole crossing over. I have friends of mine who are from Israel and they're Jewish and what have you, and we eat the same food because we live in the same land. But we also have to remember, before obviously Israel became Israel, that there was a lot of people who were Jewish who were living in Palestine, and they ate that food. But it was Palestinian food at the time. And I think the frustrating thing is that now the voice of them is louder than ours, and it's bigger and funded and money is put in, and it's broadcast all over the world. I think that's the frustration of it. But we can't forget that also our grandparents lived with them as neighbors, and they had falafel and hummus and shawarma and all that stuff together. It's just that now it's labeled incorrectly. And we can't pretend that they weren't there as Jewish people. But making it now an Israeli dish, that's the difficult part to digest still till today. But there are a lot of people who are Israeli chefs who do credit where it comes from. And I think that's the most important thing, not just about Israel, Palestine, but even in, for instance, in my cookbook, Baladi, it's a much more, I guess, general cuisine, obviously still Palestinian based, but influence from all the countries that our aunties escaped to. So to Syria, Jordan, Egypt. And I say, Dawood Basha is from Syria, Mulukhiyya is from Egypt, falafel originally from Egypt, but this is the way Palestinians make it. I think you have to always honor where something comes from. Not
it's
just
part of your ethics, right? It's part of
food, but as a person as well. You know, have some people tell me that I'm not Palestinian because I wasn't born there. But I don't judge myself by my passport. I judge myself by my blood.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's final. You know, so if anyone's unhappy with it, that's not my problem. I'm very content with who I am and where I'm from. So
no, I think you and your voice and your cookbooks are an amazing celebration of Palestinian identity, and I think it's something we should cherish. And I think this is why,
you have to celebrate it.
Exactly, and I think this is why what you're doing is so important. Palestine on a Plate and Baladi are about presenting our narrative, or presenting our history, presenting our culture through food. And the fact that they reached, you know, thousands of people is really important, and it balances a bit the counter narrative that's been so dominant. What inspired you to write the books?
To be honest with you, when I opened my deli restaurant, it was called Beatty Kitchen. I opened it because everywhere in the UK, every single Middle Eastern restaurant that was opening was Israeli. And I didn't mind that, but I did mind that a lot of them were cooking sakhan and ma'loube and sayadiyya and hummus and all the, you know, usual suspects. And when I opened Beatty, I didn't open it specifically for that reason, but behind it was this drive that actually, no, this is incorrect and we're gonna fix a few things here. And that worked really well for 3.5 years. I had to close, unfortunately, because rents and rates went up so high here in the UK, and small businesses were having a really big problem. And mine was one of the first, you know, on my street where I was working to go. And then every single shop, not restaurant only, but every single small business on that street eventually closed. And during that time, I was writing recipes, not for other people, but I used to cook everything by myself. And then I'd go down and serve, and I'd do the accounting and I'd do the cleaning. I had everyone working. I'm an obsessive person. And then I finally got someone to work in the kitchen with me. And I needed to write things down so he would remember if I took a day off, which I didn't, by the way, for 3.5 years. And that's how it sort of started. It's like piling up little recipes, and then I thought, oh, this could be something. And I spoke to an agent, and she said to me, send me a manuscript. I didn't. And then I lost my business, and then a year passed, and another year passed, and she contacted me again saying, what's happened to you? And I said, I don't have time. I just need to sort my life out. I lost my business. I started working in a property company just to get myself back. I loved working there, but I hated it because I don't want to wear a suit to work. I don't want to put makeup on. I wanted to wear my chef's jacket and have my hair up and basically, you know, look like I always do. I left that job without having a security of another job, and I started. Well, I continued to finish Palestine on a Plate, not knowing what it was called or anything. I just started writing all the stories, and I sent it to her. She loved it. She shopped it around to all the publishers, and I'm so lucky my publisher and I ended up together because she was fantastic. She really put everything behind it. Even though she didn't think we would sell many copies because she was because of the narrative that she knows. UK media and public, and then I showed her our version of it, and then the rest is history. And then it came out in 2016, and we had like many reprints of it. It was something great. And then obviously she asked me to do another one, which I had already done most of it because there were so many recipes I couldn't fit into one book. So
I remember I was in London then I lived on and off there for a while, and I walked into a bookstore and I saw the title, and I was very proud to see that as a Palestinian there. So, no, it was amazing.
I'm so proud. Even till now, I mean, I have 20 copies of the book in my house, and I see it and it's Saadi, whatever. But then when I go out, I see it in a bookshop. I'm like, oh my God, that's my book. Then I put it in front of everyone else's books, and I don't care. I know when I'm going to get arrested. Bring all of Baladi, I put it next to it.
So tell us about Baladi. How is Baladi different, and how is it?
Baladi is a completely different independent cookbook on its own. You know, a lot of people ask me if it was like an update of Palestine on a plate. The answer is no. It's just all the recipes I couldn't fit into Palestine on a plate are in Baladi, and vice versa. And also we had so many people contributing to the book, right? So I had X amount of recipes to fill up to a certain point. And then I didn't want to make stuff up. So I went on Instagram and I asked people, you know, what recipes do you want to see in my next book? And I credited everybody. I said, this is Faiza's recipe and Nazmia's recipe and Shahla's recipe, and anyone who gave me, they didn't give me the recipe exactly, they gave me ideas, because, you know, Arabs don't know how much weight of anything. It's like, no. This kind. But it was such a nice way to have like a community contribution to the recipes. And I love having their names in there and their stories. And also the photography of the country was, again, 15 different photographers, because as you know, in Palestine, people can't travel from certain areas to other areas. And I didn't want it to be just your typical Jerusalem, Dome of the Rock and Gaza shore. I wanted everywhere. So we contacted, again, through social media to ask people if they would donate photos to the book. Obviously, they would get credited and have a copy of the book and so on. And I had thousands of emails, and
it's amazing.
The photos, we could open a museum and put these. I had maybe 10,000 photos of Palestine.
Wow. And
to choose 100 was the hardest thing, but we wanted to choose the most celebratory photos, right? And I think we did a really great job. It's such a beautiful journey walking through Baladi. I've never been. I felt I've been to all these places and the markets and the guy who's selling the sweets and the fresh bread and so on. So I wanted that feeling for people, you know, to have the same as me.
Wow. Yeah. No. Absolutely. That's incredible, and also to democratize the book writing and crowdsource it and get people involved. I think. It's pretty cool. And the other thing I love about what you do is you're also very active on social media, and you connect with people and are able to share Palestinian stories through that platform. One last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Joudie, was your work with charity. And I know you use your books as vehicle for good. Tell us a bit more about that.
So when I got a US North American publisher, the Interlink Books, and my publisher is Michel Mushabbak. He's an amazing, amazing Palestinian guy. And I was so happy that he actually was my publisher. There was another two options, but we chose him. A, because he's Palestinian, and B, I loved all the other books that he had published, and all of those cookbooks that he had done are all charity-based books. So he's done Soup for Syria and many others. And then when I spoke about Palestine on a Plate originally, because Baladi was not even a conversation then, he told me that he would like it to have a charitable, payback to the House of Friendship in Nablus for children. So we give $5 from every sale of each book from Baladi and Palestine on a Plate. And we have done so since 2016, since the books came out. And, the last time I checked, I think we had raised over $30,000, but this was 6 months ago, and we had renovated the building rather. So that money has gone to good use. And then obviously we supply them with pencil cases and coloring books and, things for their classrooms and backpacks and what have you. I think if you can, which most of us can, $1 doesn't have to be 1,000. One. Yeah. And many of us give one, it's $20.
Yeah.
It builds up, and this is the thing. It doesn't take much. So these books are great to have for your recipes and memories and history and pictures, but you're also doing good in the background, without even realizing it. So I think it's important to you.
As if we needed another reason to go get the books.
No,
But
great books. They're fun and they're nice and they're easy. And I think it's, also we have to also work as a collective. If we don't support each other, who's going to support us? And I know most people know how to cook. I have everybody's book. I know how to cook Palestinian food, but I have every single Palestinian. I have every book, not just Palestinian. But I buy them for support. I buy them because I want to, see how other people cook things as well. Even if you go on your street and ask everyone to cook matlube, everyone will cook it differently. And this is the beauty of it, So I like to see the differences between us and the commonalities as well. And I think there's room for so much more positivity and connectivity. I don't know if you've experienced any backlashes from people who are Arab or not and so on. I have, definitely, and I find it very disturbing. I was brought up like that. I was brought up in a way to be as one, and no matter what your feelings are, you have to support and be positive, but very difficult.
No, I think that's a very important message. I think we need to celebrate all Palestinian voices, everybody working, towards things that are good with the right values. We're a diverse people, and we have diverse approaches, and our form of expression can come in many different ways. And I think all of those.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to also respect the fact that, not everyone had the privilege to be in Palestine. And also they might think we don't have, the opposites, that we are the privileged ones being out. But each one is missing something, and not to differentiate or separate us, some people are like, you don't know, you've never been. I've never been because I can't. It's not because I don't want. And most of my family can't go back. We're not allowed. And it's such a delicate conversation, but also it has to be fact-based that, my grandmothers did not want to leave and they couldn't go back. And they had to find a new home and a new life. And someone called me a hybrid, not really Palestinian, but I'm a mix. I don't mind, because being Syrian is fantastic. I grew up there. I went every summer. Syria is an amazing, amazing country. But it's sort of trying to take away identity. And why? What does that do for you to take something away from me? And I step back away from people like this because I find I don't want to engage in these kind of conversations. I find them, they make me unhappy, and I just think, these people are not my people.
I think
my people, my Palestinian people, you can be from Sudan or from France and say that you're not my type of person. I don't want to engage with you.
I think it's even more important for Palestinians all around the world who can't come back to be able to attach themselves to anything that is Palestinian. And that's where food plays such an important role, because the ingredients, the smells, the cooking can transport you to something that you've been missing. And so we should celebrate that even more. And I hope you continue doing what you're doing, and we'll continue celebrating you. Joudie, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will be following, and I will send you a picture of those za'atar buns once I have the courage to make them.
Please. And you also have to make the maftool بالسكر and let me know.
Will. Absolutely.
In Palestine.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Joudie.